Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the first training session of 2021. We're extremely excited about everything we have planned for this year, and that includes access to more training material and training makeover. So yeah, watch out for that. Before we get started, just a quick update on our training schedule. We will be updating it in the next week or so keep an eye out on that. I'll always also be sending everything through to everyone. So yeah, some exciting stuff happening. Now, as for Daniel, our host for this training session, Office Extras, he's going to be sharing all the goods with us today. So before I hand over to him, once again, just a couple of usual housekeeping items. A recorded version of this training session will be available on our registration page. Should you have any questions, please post them in the chat and we will address those at the end. And yeah, hand it over to Daniel now.
Great stuff. Am I coming through okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just start by sharing my screen and we'll get into this. Now, as most people know, in Office 365, there is a bunch of different subscriptions, right? The most common one that our clients pick up is this one, which is that $18.90 per month annual commitment, Microsoft 365 Business Standard. It used to be called Office 365 Business Premium, but they've added one in there. So most people are on this. What most people are also aware of is that it gives them email, and it gives them their SharePoint, and it gives them Teams, and it gives them their Office applications on their desktop, right? But I just thought it's worth going through all the actual things that are available, which most people are not aware of. Okay, so I'll just move this toolbar out of my way because I'm going to need that space up there. So going down through the list, this is you can also access online versions of Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote through the portal. All right, so straight through, if you log into office.com and do the rest of that, those applications, you can go in and you can start editing existing documents that are sitting in your OneDrive. And it's a cut down series of, what would you call it, features, but it's, you know, often enough to get by if you're sitting on a, I was going to say Pacific Island on holiday doing some work, but nobody's doing that at the moment, not even Rarotonga yet, which is a shame. But one of the other features in here in Word generally, as well as Excel and the rest, is that you can have shared collaboration. So you can see when you can have two people editing a document at the same time. That's that real-time co-authoring, right? And you can see little markers show up on the screen as to who's doing what at the same time, which is pretty neat. With regards to untapped features in there, we know that you get a 50 gig mailbox. Shared mailboxes don't cost you that license fee. They don't attract that. And it's quite easy to manage those people. With regards to file storage and sharing, where I see individuals who get an Office 365 subscription, they only really know about OneDrive, right? But SharePoint is another way of handling that shared file storage, all right? OneDrive is the tool that actually synchronizes these files. So, for example, I've got the OneDrive here, which is my personal folder, but under Vertech, I have a series of document libraries which relate to how we operate in the business. And if I drop files into there, it gets synchronized through to the rest of the chaps using the OneDrive widget. Oh, looks like I need to open that up and fix that up sometime. Anyway, so most of those features people are aware of. With regards to teamwork and communication, Microsoft Teams is becoming the big tool that you can pretty much access every other tool through. so we're finding that you can add in useful little items in here. You can go searching for files that have been posted through and retrieve those from previous conversations and all that kind of good stuff. In the future, we're going to be, well, I think this is just more and more things are pulling together through Teams and becoming very, very useful as an organization. We have, again, the Teams channels line up with the various segments of our business, but you can create additional channels and route information through into them and make life easier for yourself through that as well. As well as doing all the things that we do with Zoom, of course. So, and I've gone into that in depth in a previous video, so I won't flog that horse. Some of the other aspects in here, which I'm going to drive into deeper, is tools to build and manage your business. All right. So these are the things that people aren't usually aware of. So one of the things in here is Microsoft Lists, which is, I've just opened this up here. Now, if you're wondering how to get to most of these things, it's through your portal here. If I go into all apps or go into my home, you'll see what we see here. And these apps are listed down the side. All right, so going into lists, I'll just take that one back, open up this tab. You can create little lists in here, which you can then track the progress of things. There's lots of different ways to use this, and it's quite malleable. So you can create the list from blank, from an existing list, from Excel, and they give you a stack of templates that can get you off the ground without having to reinvent the wheel too much. So I'll just make the point that some of the things I'm going to show you, there are specialized applications out there which you can commercially buy off the shelf, which do all of these things and probably do them really, really well. But if you're going, well, actually, I just want to leverage what we've already invested, it's worth checking these things out first, having a bit of a play with them, and perhaps using them to the point where, oh, we've hit the ceiling on this thing, and perhaps I want to then step out, just for the sake of saving yourself some cash. And also, when you go through that process, you better understand your own processes, because once you start looking at them and going, well, if I was to do it this way, how could I make that better? You got to start with something rather than nothing. So we're not using this ourselves internally, but there's just ways that you could easily link this into an Excel sheet and create a bunch of lists in there where you can track like standard processes that you might have on a day-to-day basis. So you can see who's done it, when did it get done, were there any other notes, those kind of things. What was the next thing on there? Microsoft Forms. Okay, so where did I put that? That's the SharePoint Forms. Here we go. So forms is a way that you can create forms that you can publish out internally or externally. They can be embedded into your web page. This is just a quick one that I created up to kind of show you what it looks like. And this is what the preview of it is. And it could be optimized for what it would look like on a mobile versus on a computer. And that shows the, what feature request form, what could we improve on, and you can put some little simple logic in there so that you can get that out, and you can see what the responses are through here as well. And then when you share it out, you can say whether it's just specific people, just internally, or anybody in the world, and you can embed that as a straight out link or code into your website. Right, so you don't have to redo a website or anything. You can just grab this code, put that out there, and embed it. Or you can provide a QR code for people so they can just put that on a piece of marketing material and hand it out on a card. Quite nifty, and it really is quite easy to operate. What's the next thing? Go forms, bookings. Now, I'm a bit embarrassed to say that I discovered this only relatively recently. but it is useful. I always, you may have noticed on the bottom of my email links, there's a link to my Calendly page. Now, keeping Calendly because it integrates in with Zoom, and often when I'm doing stuff externally, it is it integrates quite well with Zoom, and that's where I'm having a lot of first time conversations with people who I can't drive around and reach so easily. But bookings gives us an opportunity to create that functionality within your organization. It can be done. You can have multiple booking entries in here. This is just one that I created for myself. You can set what your business hours are. You can publish it as a booking page, add your services in here. If I go into, it shows this is what a client who opened up your booking page would see. And you can customize it. So you just copy that link. And if I just take that out to a new page, paste that in. Whoopsie. I didn't actually copy that link. Copy. Then I go a new incognito window and paste. That's interesting. It's less than interesting. That is not recognizing my copy and paste. How terrible. How about I do this? Control A, Control C, Control Shift N for a new incognito window, and I'll just paste that in that. I'm doing incognito so it doesn't bring across any of my authentication. So that's what a client would see, and you can choose between, do you want an initial consult, technical business review, quick call, then you can go out and you can pick a date in there and see what's available during that time, put in some details, and boom, and that would appear in my calendar. How awesome is that, right? Because one of the pains that I always find is when you're trying to book in time with somebody, it's like, you know, do they have their calendar out, and then when they send you a meeting, it's like, look, yeah, and then it clashes with something else that you've got in there, and I've double booked myself enough times that I try not to even do it over the phone. It's like, oh, can I just send you this link? So you know, there's lots of cool things in here, and you can customize it for your colors and set some policies in there, which I think is really cool, like giving yourself some lead time, and you know, that really helps. So that's Microsoft Booking. MileIQ is a way of tracking mileage. Unfortunately, it's not available in New Zealand, which is kind of annoying that they even put that in there. Now, there are some other things which end up inside, are inside the Microsoft universe. One is Delve, all right? So that's another app which sits inside here. It's kind of like a search engine for your business. So you can pull up information like, I don't know, e-folder, and or go off and just go and search through and find everything that is related to that across all your files that you have access to, which is pretty damn nifty, I think. And again, you know, you don't have to have this online on your PC. You don't have to have everything synchronized on your computer, and that's pretty swift at how quickly it was able to get that information back to me. So that's Delve, and also kind of gives you an idea of what's kind of happening across the organization. I have access to most folders, so I kind of see everything that goes on anyway. Another tool which is within the kit is Sway. And Sway is another way of delivering really sharp presentations. I'd love to show you a really sharp one, but this is just the one I created some time ago for doing cybersecurity presentations. And this is how you fill it out. And you've got these cards, and you can put lots of different things in there. And then you can play it as essentially a PowerPoint type style, but it's all done through the web browser, so you can do it from wherever you are. And it looks really glossy, and the way that it puts together is quite slick. So I like it. So that's Sway. The next one I will come up with is, no, we've already talked about SharePoint. And that's fine. It's okay. So this one is a bit of a new beast. I haven't had a chance to play with it. It's Kaizella. It is a way. Essentially, it's like a Microsoft version of WhatsApp. So if you have people within your organization that mostly do stuff on their phone, and perhaps you only want to interact with them in certain ways without giving them a work email address or something like that, and you just need their cell phone number so they can get their app, then you can provide certain applications and actions within this environment without having to give them access to everything. To be frank, I haven't had a good play with this. I'm limited to what kind of use cases might be useful for, but I think it's something that we'll have to approach in the future, because there will be some really cool work use cases for that. Power apps. Okay. Power apps is another item in the list, and that looks like Power apps. There we go. Power apps. Okay, open that one up. This one is really quite neat. So without necessarily having to have any knowledge of coding, you can write applications which you can use within your business on your computers or on your tablets or your phones, right? There is a bunch of templates that you can start with, and it looks pretty nifty, all right? So I just took 5 minutes and I just took one of the apps and I created basically based off this. Where's the preview button for this? I'll play. So this is one where it's like you can create I'm doing a site inspection. Right, I can add one in, put my details, add photos in from my camera, and I can't actually take a camera shot right now because it's in use by Zoom. But wait, there's one. Here's one that I took earlier. It's taking a little while to populate. Boom. There we go. Yeah, just taking some quick snaps. All right. Which I think it's a really neat little tool. I'm sure we can find ways we can make that useful. So that is Power Apps, and there is the Automate platform, right, which is also included with the Office 365 subscription. And this is where you can make life just a little bit easier, take on any repetitive tasks that slow you down, and then it can do the job of interconnecting these apps, right? So this is one I just added in there myself, and it would literally, to enable this one, all I had to do was click the button, right? And it will now create any email attachments that come in from into my mailbox are going to end up being dumped into there. Like it's a minor thing, but it's kind of cute, right? Because sometimes if you're trying to hunt down a file, it's hard to find it within emails, and maybe it's just looking in that folder. But there's a lot of extra templates in there. You can see how, as a team, if you start using one aspect of Microsoft 365 to do one task, and potentially you're able to link them together to just save a bit of time, make sure that people are being notified, that files end up in the right place and it's been manipulated the right way. And there is a stack load of templates already in there that you can pull from. And Especially multi-step flows are useful for it. If you need to have things approved by somebody else, really nifty thing. So I think those are the main features that I wanted to get through to show people about. And so, you know, like the $18.90 per month is really, it's quite a small amount for what potential there is in developing your organization systems and processes. We're bringing in some additional resources into Vertech so that we can deliver on some of this stuff in here. To do it quickly and to do it well, it does take a specialist. So I'm quite excited about that because we've got multiple opportunities that we're dealing with right now. We're going to deliver on automating incident reports that go through to directors and certain people that mandatorily need to be notified of certain things. So if you see some possibility for how you might be able to automate a manual process in your organization, or a process which is subject to human failure one too many times, you know, something that can just make life easier, like with bookings, please do let us know. We will pretty much, I'm sure, be able to get, if you can imagine it, it can be created. And it is probably a lot less expensive than what you think it might be to get like an application running in your own business to suit your particular needs. Right now, I don't have too much more for you guys with respect to the hidden features. It's kind of a quick once over lightly just to show people what's available. So are there any questions out there that I need to address? Let's have a look at the chat.
I have one question. So basically,
Sure.
if you're running all these applications, are you essentially saying that that the application is where the setup will be, and then the forefront, the person would be able to just open a document, or for instance, the bookings, that just goes into your mailbox. So it's a one-time setup in the background, but then you will be adding the bookings to all your emails that goes out to clients, things like that. So with all the rest of the apps, do they work the same, or would it be a case of your work actually needs to be done in that app? And how does that integrate with, if you're saving your documents in SharePoint, how does it integrate with that?
Okay, so there's a few questions in there. Okay, so something like bookings, you just add that as a link into your email signature, right? And then it integrates into your Outlook calendar, and hands off, job done, right? You might just want to go back in there and, you know, add in a few more options and that kind of stuff, but that's very straightforward. Some of these things can be downloaded as, I think with the apps itself, it can be an app which gets put on your phone as a shortcut. So it might itself just be a URL that gets saved onto the desktop of your phone, and that's how you'd use it. The automation stuff, once you've set it up, it runs, right? So there's no what's the word? Where's the automate? So there's no maintenance that's needed in that respect. Although, you know, if you're using it to save files and that kind of stuff, at some point it's going to consume space, and you might need to add in additional data. It's worth having a bit of a play with it, and then seeing if there is the possibility of it, and then going, all right, I've got an idea what it could do, but I need help, and that's where we can jump in. You know, everybody learns through play. There is there's premium aspects to some things, but that would be a case of finding out, you know, what it is you need, and then, you know, none of these things are particularly expensive. You know, it's like dollars per month type of thing, a lot of them. So it's worth just and when you think of that, it's like, oh, if it costed me $15 per month, if it saves you an hour a month, I mean, just think about how much you pay yourself, right? Or you get paid, what your hourly rate is. It doesn't take too many hours of time saving for it to just be worthwhile having that license to make one person's day better, right? But then you can, generally, it's not just going to be one thing, there's probably multiple things once you get there. A question to admin purpose in Office 365. And interested in what you said about the incident report, something we tried to automate but beyond no scope. Okay, well, Silky, we've got somebody who's very keen on doing that right now with us, and we're going to be implementing that in the next couple of weeks. What I suggest is that once we've done that, I'll show you exactly what
that'll be fantastic. That'll be brilliant. Yeah. And the question to admin. So I'm the admin holder in Office 365. What I found initially when it was set up, that we couldn't share outside the organization, and it took me quite a while to figure out that it had to be set in the admin setup as a policy. So that's, if there is some more support or anything, if you are working with somebody, that would be cool. I'd be really interested in another, potentially individual sort of training support on that one.
Sure. There's within SharePoint, there are different security defaults across the different applications. SharePoint is deliberately more secure because they're generally moving people off places like Dropbox, where you can just share anything to everybody at any time, which is not great for information security. But things like forms, where you're trying to collect information, and it's not so much sharing a file from the SharePoint directly. It is by default, you can just quickly go, yep, anyone can respond and grab that. It is, so it's more about the security defaults, and it's possible to do it, but
and it's just learning a bit more, with admin, with the admin function. Once one is in that has admin access. It's great, and sometimes I'm standing in front of it thinking I'm not quite sure what I'm doing.
So what we, like I said, what we'll do is, once we've got a really good example across the board on one of these features, then I'll be like spruiking that hard out to everybody, so that everybody gets an opportunity to see what is possible. Because within our client base, I can think of several organizations that are very broadly aligned. They operate in a similar manner, not necessarily in the same target market or anything like that. But once you've done one thing for somebody like that, it'll be like, oh, we're going to be doing it multiple times. And then within one organization, it's usually you start with one form and you go, oh, we could do that for here and here and here and here and here. And the next thing you know, it's a lot more complicated. But as long as it's not complicated, you just increase the complexity of your SharePoint setup from very simple file sharing to and document control to workflows and automation. But I'm really excited with it, because what it means is that our customers get to realize much greater value than their original investment that they were happy to put. So, in a sense, their IT gets cheaper because they're just simply using what they what they have already paid for in a much better way. So I don't want to drag this out and hold anybody up from their precious Friday. It's probably not drinkies o'clock yet, but soon. And then for the long weekend, I'm excited. I'm going to be going castrating sheep.
Oh, good fun. I think Karen might do the same thing.
Oh, really? Does she have any sheep? Or is this
Yep. No.
Yes, I do. I've done it a couple of months ago now, so I don't need to do that again.
We had some late lambs that turned up after we just bought a property, so that's exciting for us. Okay, so we'll say good afternoon and goodbye. Thanks for turning up, ladies. And hey, if you've got any other topics that you'd like us to cover at some point, whether it's in more depth on something we've covered in the past, or just something else entirely, that'd be great, because it's like I don't necessarily know what everybody wants to hear about. I'm happy to go out and research topics and drill down deeper and harder. It's up to you guys.
Sounds great.
Yeah, flick me an email, daniel@vertech.co.nz.